Welcome back to the Everybody Podcast. Today we have a special guest with us with a commentator's voice, so it should be him doing this at this point. But can you introduce yourself first?
In the commentator's voice.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to change it to the voice?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can adjust to the voice right now. Hello, my name is Chauncey Dion Sanders. I am the former play-by-play. I guess I could say that now, maybe, hopefully, for the Alabama A&M men's and women's basketball for the previous 4.5 years. Former NFL intern, broadcast intern for the Los Angeles Rams, and writer, journalist.
Okay.
A little bit of podcasting, hopefully in the future. All of the above.
Okay, you're right. I didn't know you were.
Yeah, I actually wrote for two separate entities. I wrote for WHNT, the local news station here, and then I also wrote for AL.com during the football season.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did that work for you with the voice?
What kind of writing did you do?
I did a little bit of writing with sports, and then WHNT kind of introduced it a little bit for me more by earlier on this past summer. I was writing from local news to guys being arrested to a little bit of sports too. You know, I got my Trash Pandas working, and then they allowed me to do some other writing once they figured like, oh, he's pretty good on this. And I was like, just keep feeding me more stories to write. Like every day I try to write a different story because I just always wanted to do something in the newsroom. Sometimes they'll let you branch out and go tag along with the reporter, and that was cool and all, but I want to put some actual work in, like let me get some writing in. I think this could help me, not just with like writing scripts, but also just being a good writer too, because that's what comes with being a broadcaster. Yeah.
So you have a creative side, like writing, journalism, speaking, other stuff. What led you to that sort of area? Why didn't you go like the STEM route, like the finance route? Like how do you like the creative side is my element?
I just think growing up, it kind of just all led me to that. I always was a sucker for sports. I wouldn't say jock, but pretty much I hate that word jock, but I kind of was led into that jock route, but then I just knew, just growing up, reading, writing, watching a lot of TV, ESPN, where this is what these guys do, and I was like, okay, like I think I'm trying. It just kept leading me to where we are today. Like I just like the idea of being able to tell someone's story and do different channels. I think that's what sports is all about when you're in a media business. You're telling someone's story. You're telling a story on a team. You're telling a story on a player. And, those stories all add up to make what we love in sports. Those great headlines.
So it sounds like you're more of like the background type of person.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you enjoy that part?
I enjoy it the most because no one's here for the writer. People like to say that, there's some people that do blow up, like your Stephen A's, your, those big names, they blow up, but even they will tell you, we're just part of the story. We're never the story. The story is the guys that are putting their bodies on the line. The stories are the guys like Damar Hamlin that are passing out on the field, and, now we're trying to uncover the reasons why, and, we dial back a couple of pages to see how he got to that point. Or the LeBrons of the world. Those are the stories. We're just here to tell it. We're just here to amplify the story, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You speak heavily on sport. I'm kind of curious though. How has sport shifted your mindset, or like how has sport helped you in the way you have grown?
It's unbelievable when I think about how far sports has taken me. Excuse me. I started as a kid, just doing AAU, and like I was telling you guys pre-show, just watching, like growing up in Cleveland, it's such a sports town. We got basketball, football, and baseball all in the same area, and it just always just drove my passion. It was my ultimate passion, and then I got into where we are today, and just was able to just keep trying to grow it, and I look at it now from a perspective of where we're at today, getting ready to graduate in like a couple weeks. Like, man, it's crazy how far sports can take you. I went from as an athlete playing in Myrtle Beach to now here I am in my young broadcast career. I work for the former Super Bowl champions, and call the game in the NFL, and now looking for. I've already worked on 2 NFL teams, before I've even graduated. I think that's like a rare feat for one, because a lot of people don't get these opportunities, and for 2, I think to myself, dang man, like it's crazy where sports can take you. If you drive it. A lot of times we see people crash out in our communities, our black communities.
But yeah, you were saying bigger picture is to be the poster child for kids.
Yeah.
Why is that important for you?
I think it's important because our community just has always been like having this mindset of this is how it is. Like you can only play ball or you can only be a rapper to be relevant in life, And that's just not the truth. We need more doctors. We need more lawyers and things of that nature. But we can also use some people that are representing us in these media fields. We can use people that are telling our story from us, from our perspective. I think our perspective goes totally underrated when you come into the media realm because, for so long, the norm has been that we are although we're minorities in the country, we're the majority in these sports, yet when we look at who's telling our story, it's not from our perspective. And that's something that I think ends up becoming this disconnect, this discord between the athlete and the media member because we don't have too many media members that look like us. The stories are told wrong. You see what I'm saying? And now because those stories are told wrong, the player looks at the media member like, oh, I can't trust the media and this, that, and the third. And that it goes a long way, and then that trust isn't there because they don't see a lot of us in that room. And I think that's something that we have to be able to change. Representation matters so much. I think you have a lot of people now going into politics, if you will, because we saw that great guy in Obama to say, hey, we can be there too if we need be. And that's something that I want to help in the sports media world. Hey, we got guys that are there, don't get us wrong, but we need more people to represent because the more we represent, the more representation that's shown to kids, the more they want to be able to achieve that as well.
That's a valid point. Again, being a sport writer or sport commentator, again, you're at the backstage, you're not at the limelight. So how do you kind of bring that to the limelight? So do you have initiatives or do you plan to partner with somebody? Because if I go to a random kid, the only person that they know that is black in sport is probably Stephen A. Smith. That's it. Right. That's because it's controversial. Nobody knows anybody else. Right. So how are you going to solve that problem, so to say?
I think I just solved the problem by doing the work. Just like he did. And that was something that he kind of told me too. Growing up, I had a couple of run-ins with Stephen A. Stemming from when I was 16 years old to actually last year at the All-Star game in Cleveland. So one of the things we actually had a long sit down at one point in time, my freshman year of college, was if you're gonna be lazy, quit. That was his ultimate word to me. If you're gonna be lazy in this business, quit, because if you mess up, who says that employer doesn't look at the rest of the people that look like you when they're going to hire again, and think about that, and then they turn themselves to someone else. So that was something that I have to plan on doing. Just putting in the work, and that's what I think I pride myself on doing. I don't just do this for the likes. I don't do this for the limelight. I think it comes with that, but right now it's this is where you put the weed in the bag, if you will. It's a weird term that I learned from a book that I read from Charlemagne the God. You putting the weed in the bag, and it's where we're all in this come up. We want to be out there in the field doing it. We want everything that comes with that. But right now, it's you got to be able to put it in the bag first. You got to put the good stuff in the bag first to be able to go out there and do what you need to do. So, I just want to be able to show them that you got to put the work in. And once you put the work in, anything is possible. Anything.
Right then. Okay, we spoke about Stephen A. Smith. I gotta bring up another celebrity, Deion Sanders. Literally Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Are you guys literally related, or he's around there to you?
No, he's that's my uncle now. You know what I mean? That's my uncle. That's what I go off of, and that's my guy. You know, he's like, you ain't my son, but no, you know, it was all good and fun. You know, it was a good joke or whatever, but that's my guy. You know, we actually he texted me about the trailer we just posted from the Black Sports Business Symposium. I want to say Thursday night, actually. I was going to say Friday morning, but Thursday night, I think he texted me about it, and he liked it, and said, you know, he's enjoying it. He's looking forward to, you know, the story being told, and, you know, seeing what happened after the symposium. But that was one of my awesome moments. I don't think I understood how big that moment was until probably now, looking back a year later, to be honest. You know, I've been able to run into him maybe once or twice since then. Once being at the Swag Media Day, a little bit weeks following after the symposium, and it was great to see him because he knew exactly who I was. There was this huge media scrum, and during these media days, especially at the Swag, you had like all these HBCU podcasters and media personalities and writers and local news people, things of that nature. And we're in this huge scrum. It gotta be like 50, 60 people in the scrum, right? And we're getting towards the winding questions. Of course, I had like maybe 1 or 2 questions earlier on because I just was able to get myself in there. But then it got to the last question, and the guys that are running the PR side of things, they're like, all right, last question. We want to get one of the local guys, one of the local reporters for Jackson State. Because, you know, of course, sometimes they like to side with those local people because that's the city they cover. You know, Jackson, Mississippi. You got no choice. You know, you ain't got no business as a person from Huntsville getting that last question. But he was like, no, I know who he is. Let him get the last question. And I was like, you know, everybody was like, what is this kid doing here? Like, who's this kid? And how did he get the last question with Deion Sanders? You know what I mean? And that was like home field advantage for me. You know, I call it like that prime effect that people like to say. You know what I mean? And that was really special. And, you know, having the same name, I think is really dope. And coincidentally, also being named after Chauncey Billups, and seeing them both in Colorado recently, that was like really dope. You know what I mean? Like the child in me was like, man, wow, like this is amazing. Like I can't believe you made it this far to be on stage in front of thousands with like one of the greatest athletes ever. You know? So it was really sweet. It was a really sweet moment, and I'm looking forward to running into him again.
That's really dope. We're speaking a lot about like athletes, you know, initiatives to show people like how to do better, like other options.
Right.
Aside from those of athletes and like, you know, media personality, who are the other role models in your life, and like what value have they placed in your life to make you who you are today?
Wow, that's a great question. I would first start with my parents. I think my parents were really great, both education field. Educators, if you will. My mother, principal, and my father, physical education teacher and basketball coach. And they instilled some toughness, you know, whether they wanted to say it or not. You know, I think I've had a really very special childhood growing up. I was able to spend probably more time with my parents than probably just about almost anybody could, possibly that I know of. You know, my mother was my principal at one point in middle school, so that's like, ugh, you know what I mean? It's like, yikes, you know, everybody's like, don't make me tell your mother, you know, but I had moments like that with her, and then my father was my head coach at one point in high school for basketball, and so, you know, they unknowingly gave me some really, really thick skin, you know. You take a lot of heat, a lot of flack for being their kid, you know, people like to push back, whether it was my high school teachers to students and stuff like that, you know, peers. And so, you know, they gave me that toughness that I needed. They were great role models to show me how to lead and lead with authority, you know, make sure that, you know, even if you're the only voice that may be going towards that one direction, you know, don't be afraid to keep your head held high. And I would probably say my professor, Samaj Robinson, actually here at Alabama A&M.
What's his name?
Samaj Robinson. Yeah, over in the communications media department. He's also been a great role model to me, showing me a different side of leadership as well. You know, leadership always isn't ruling with the iron fist. Sometimes it could be more collaborative, and I think that's something he's taught me as well. Then last, I would say Kevin Demoff from the Los Angeles Rams. You know, being able to see that humility from him. it was really special.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here he is, a Caucasian man, and oftentimes a lot of older Caucasian males don't necessarily understand the black community. That's what the stigma has been placed in. Here he is to have the heart to be able to put together one of the more special events in our culture. You know, the Black Sports Business Symposium.
Oh.
And I really take a, you know, being out there in LA just really got me a chance to see how great of a person he is and how great of a leader he is, and you know, to really admire his humility. You know, not just, he could easily just be for himself and, you know, me. I'm the COO of one of the $1 billion franchises in the NFL, one of the more expensive franchises in the NFL, and one of the biggest markets in the country. But he has the heart to, you know, be a part of the communities and make impact in other communities that he's not even representing, you know. And I take that with like so much like respect, because, you know, it takes a lot to do that, and that's awesome, you know, to have what you're going on in your field, in your workplace, but you're also able to take the time out to make sure that your co-workers, your people that work under you are represented well as well, you know, to take care of their issues that they find important as well. So to see his heart was like this, it was really dope. It was admirable, yeah.
So you mentioned that you had a special childhood. Why do you say that?
Well, I think I had a special childhood because of, one, just coming from two parents household. You know, I think, you know, that sometimes we don't necessarily take that for granted. You know, sometimes I think coming from two parent households, people think that that's the norm, and it's really not. You know, I don't take that for granted at all. Coming from two parents, having great examples to show that, you know, this is how it actually is. You don't always have to come from one parent household where things didn't go right, and, you know, some of my friends' households were like that, where, you know, things just didn't go right, and so I kind of hold that close. And then also look at how I came up, which was awfully different. You know, like having your parents in these places where you spend majority of your time is unheard of. You know, it can burn you out a little bit, if you will. Like, you see your parent, like, imagine you're growing up in middle school, you're used to walking back and forth from school, and all of a sudden you get transformed, you transition into, all right, well, I'm running with my mom back and forth now, every day. Seeing her start up in school at the lunch table, walking around, and then now I'm seeing her back at home. You know, it's kind of like you missed that conversation on how did school go today, because she's already there. You know what I mean? It's kind of eerie similar to that with basketball, with high school, a little bit with my father too. Just like, okay, you know, how was basketball practice? Well, he's here. You know, how can you ask that question, you know, when he's already here? Or how can you get too upset about what happened in the basketball realm when it's your father too? You know, you can't be like, damn, I hate this coach and all that. Like, no, because it's your father at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And people look at what happens between you two. You know, I remember there was a time where my father and I had a disagreement on the court, and everyone's looking at us like, you know, okay, what's going on with these two? Because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, they also have to have that same position where it's like, okay, I can't get on everyone else, but then not get on you. You know, not show that. Like, I can't show that favoritism. You know, everybody has to get it the same way, and that was what I said I find admirable in their leadership skills. You know, just being able to make sure that it was even killed with their son included. You know, that's not easy. So that's why I really think I had like a really interesting childhood, along with just being in sports so early as well. You know, I started soccer in the middle school soccer team, might I add at that. Like, let's not get things twisted here. We're tying the suit and tie. But I started middle school soccer around like the age of 5, which is like insane. You know, to be on a middle school team.
Yeah,
like 5, 6 years old, I was already on the middle school team, and already giving it to like the older kids, if you will. And it transitioned to that in basketball as well. Like once I got into like 7, 8 years old, I stopped playing with like my age group for a while. I started playing with like the 8th graders. And that was like kind of also helped me build that toughness, helped me build like that IQ for where I'm at today. I'm able to point things out before it even happens. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think I find those things like the more special things that comes with like a child. You know, when we think about childhood stars, there's always something that was in their life that creates that spark to where it makes their life different. Like when you look at a Michael Jackson, he didn't necessarily have the time to go and have that like typical childhood, you know, going out to the park all day and playing till the street lights are off because he's practicing nonstop. And I feel like that was kind of eerie similar to how I am. You know, it feels like I had some of that childhood where I could play like that, but then again, there was other times where it's like, oh no, we got AAU, we got this soccer team, we got rec league, we got travel league. Like, you know, it was just always something after the other, following each other growing up.
Is there anything you would change about that?
Oh no, not a single thing.
What about when it pans out? Like, does that affect your view on like having your own kids and like marriage and stuff like that?
I think it does a little bit to a degree. You know, I kind of want the same thing for my child, if not more. You know, I think
more.
Yeah, more as in like, I think that I would love to have them in a situation where I feel like they can learn how to grind, but they don't need to know like the struggle is like this is the end all be all. Like you have to struggle in this world. Like you will have times where you struggle. Don't get us wrong. I want them to be prepared for that, but I want them to know that, you know, the struggle doesn't always have to be a struggle. You know what I mean? And that's something that I've always been able to learn too as well here in college. Like, of course, we all have our own struggles in college, but sometimes it's about who you know, not what you know. And so, you know, I just want to be able to teach them that as well, being a master networker and being able to, I wouldn't say necessarily use people that you know, but, you know, be able to have that community where you never need anything, if that makes sense.
So have you found that family or that kind of close-knit connection here?
I think I did at one point. I think there's
at one point.
Yeah, at one point. I think there's different stages to my college career. So I believe like so I'm a 5-year senior. Been here a little bit older than everybody else. You know what I mean? You've seen a lot go down, but like I would say the first 2 years of my college career was when I found that group, that tight-knit, family-like group, and COVID hit. And when I came back when we come back from COVID, everyone left. Everybody, all of my closest of closest friends all left.
Left to like the different schools?
Different schools, just graduated or just left. Wow. You know, like COVID was too much and going through all those protocols was too much for them, and they decided to take a different shift in life. You know, they decided to pivot. And so, you know, it kind of left me here alone, but it kind of left me here to test my skills out myself, you know. I pride myself on being a great networker and having a lot of friends. And it put that to the test, you know. Can I really build these relationships like I say I can? And it also gave me that focus post-COVID too, to like really put my all into this business, you know, put my heart and soul into being a better play-by-play caller. We're not just doing this for fun anymore. You know, as I was younger, it was like I'm trying to navigate, figure this thing out. You know, how does it go? I'm imitating like other play-by-plays that I grew up listening to a little bit more, or it even sounds like them. And I was like, you know what? Now I need to make it to my own form. You know, this is the time where I become me. And, you know, that's where these last couple of years have been like. You know, they just been able to flourish now. You've seen the fruits of the labor of the work. You know, being able to go to NBA games and get notes from like the play-by-play callers now with no hesitation. That I don't take that lightly. You know, it's that's what we're starting to see now. And so, you know, it's really weird. You know, it was weird time in between there, but now that we're getting towards the light at the tunnel, it's like, wow, this is a crazy journey. Going from having like this huge group of friends to a new set of friends. And then, you got where I look at today, I'm like, okay, I got my friends that I know I can call for parties. I got my friends that I know I'm calling for business. And then I got like this community all together of like sports media people, like play-by-play callers to communications, public relations writers, or other ESP, like people that are working at ESPN and production, to like I have friends that are doing social media. Like I just got this huge community now of friends that I can call and ask them this, or they could call and ask me about how to do this, how does my resume need to be set up, what about a reel and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. So now I feel like because of having to make that pivot with all of my closest ones being gone, and I'm still cool with each and every one of them, believe it or not. Having each and every one of them gone, though, kind of allowed me to become a little bit better of a communicator with everyone, if you will. Because I felt like that kid that was just starting new at school. You got to make those friends and, break people in and stuff like that. But it allowed me to create that community that I'm talking about now, where I feel like I'm better overall as a person because they left.
That's interesting.
Right? Now, you never hear someone say they're better because they left. But it's like, I felt like I kind of grew a little bit as a person because of those moments.
Speaking of grow and like, almost at the end of the tunnel, what's your, like, how you feeling? You're about to graduate soon. Are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Like, what's going through your mind?
Honestly, I feel like I'm more at peace a little bit.
At peace?
Yeah, it's weird to say because I'm really never really at peace.
What?
Like, believe it or not, like I'm always like, all right, what's the next move? What's the next move? Which goes on, when I go back and say, like, I really didn't process the Deion Sanders thing until now. Like, until I'm here, getting towards a year now, when we get towards Juneteenth weekend, where I'm like, damn, like that really happened, So I'm at peace a little bit because I feel like the last 2 years now I've been on this crusade for our school to be like well represented in our department. What major are you guys?
Computer science.
Computer science? That's what's up. See, you guys are over in that engineering side of things. See, our space in communications media is very interesting. I don't want to down talk our university, but here we are, this communications department where we need areas such as this. Like, this is a nice setup, honestly. Truthfully, I told you guys that pre-show, and now I'll tell you in the show. This is a great setup.
Shout out to the maestro.
Right. Tell him, give it to him, man. Here we are in this communications department in the same building as the band. And you guys know, if we had a band playing in the background right now, you can only imagine the difficulties that brings up when there's a guy playing the trumpet down the hallway and you're trying to get like a voiceover in for a news package, or you don't have enough computers in the computer lab, or they're old, outdated computers and things of that nature, or you look at these other schools like FAMU, NCAT, Clark Atlanta, Morehouse. A lot of the times, in my opinion, these employers are going off of the name of the school. They're like, oh, we want an HBCU school. But then they're going to point to those bigger names, those mainstream schools. Yeah. And it's like, that ain't it. I feel like a lot of times when I was trying to apply for opportunities earlier on in my career, I felt like it was really more name-based than what's on your resume and what's on your reel. So I try to really take pride in that the last 2 years and trying to make sure that, employers and our students ourselves know that we can do this. We can go tooth and nail with these other universities if they put us on a I want to say competition, if you will. If you put us in the same space as them that make something happen, we'll be right there with them, no doubt about it. Because I know for a fact we got some really talented people in this department, but it's all about, like I say, representation. It's all about showing it and not telling it. So, I've been just trying to put that work in and get out there in the field, and get out there at the symposium. And, I don't like to say, like, I like to come in as a person and, I'll win the room. But I like to say, if you put me in the room, you got to be careful because I might steal it, i.e. Black Sports Business Symposium. I might steal it if you don't give me, if you give me the chance. So, that's something that I've been really prideful on, just trying to make sure that our university and employers out there know that, like, you can get someone from this university. Like, we're not just like a rocket science, engineering and, it's in the name, agriculture and mechanical university. Like, we also breed true people that want to be in this field. And now looking back, I'm like, we got trailer just dropped for the symposium for my upcoming feature. It's like a showcase feature where they're putting a spotlight on me and my journey. And then we got other students that are doing the HBCU in LA opportunity, which is really great because you're able to go and work for different outlets like Fox and they got people working for sports agencies and things of that nature. Like, it's really great. We have a lot of people in this department going to bigger things, and we also have people that graduated beforehand. You got Marlon Sanders. I like to call him the other Sanders, if you will. A lot of times when we grew up working for the football team, he's working for the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Devontae Ely, who came from our department, that's now working for the Baltimore Ravens. So, I want people to know that it's attainable. And now I'm at peace because I know when I leave here that someone's going to try to fill that position. Someone's going to be motivated to try to come behind me and do bigger and better. And I think that's overall the goal. That got to be the goal. We can't try to imitate or duplicate. We got to be able to make it bigger and better. So, I'm excited. I'm at peace knowing that I think I did my best to do what I did to make sure that, the norm is changed, and that also our university knows that students can do the job just as well, if not better, and they should be paid doing so as well. And that was another thing that I looked at too. Like, a lot of times when we're in this business field, they try to go for the older adult. They always try to say, like, there's an age thing, there's an age thing you got to go through. But I was hoping to say that I set that apart, and said, like, hey, if you got a student that's like him, they can fill in anytime. We don't need to go and look outside. We can come right inside, homegrown here at A&M, and he can work for us. So yeah, I'm at peace, man. Totally at peace.
That's dope.
Does networking ever get tiring for you?
Honestly, no. Can I give you guys a story? So, like,
story time.
Right? Story time. So, like, post Black Sports Business Symposium, I'm out with a friend of mine's. We're going to Popeyes, and I run into someone that I had no clue was, like, I just thought it was a typical girl, like, I thought it was just a random lady in Popeyes, and I'm like, I see her with the support Black College hat on, and I'm like, hey, like, that's a nice hat, like, what HBCU went to, because I'm like, we building that connection, it's Atlanta, you know what I mean, like, you've been in Atlanta, like, it could be anywhere, you know what I mean, in Atlanta, that's a different story for another day, but she's like, I didn't go to HBCU, but my brother and I, we started this business, and I was like, oh, that's y'all business. So, it was like, oh, you go to HBCU, what HBCU go to? I'm like, A&M, and it was such a quick connection to where it's like, networking comes easy to me like breathing. Honestly, it's not always about having like that elevated pitch to someone that's where you want to be. It's just about being human. You know what I mean? You guys are at Popeyes. You see something you like a hat. It's typical as that. It went from talking about a hat to now, let's exchange business. Let's talk later on down the line. And I think that's the beauty of networking. I think sometimes as students, we kind of try to look at what can you do for me instead of looking at, okay, we're in two separate spaces. I think I can do something for you. I think you can do something for me. And that ultimately is what stunts sometimes the growth of people in the business that are younger like us. And that's something I've heard from plenty of employers, plenty of people that I look to as like mentors and big brothers and sisters. It's always feeling like it's a one-way street, but it's really a two-way street when it comes to networking. Because you never know what you could do for the next person down the line. You know what I mean? And I've seen that on several occasions where I was like, hey, I need something, I need this, I need like that, and he's like, at the same time, he hits me right back. You know, as mentor, a couple of mentors of mine, they hit me right back like, hey, you think you could do this for me, or do you know this person, or do you know that person? And I'm able to plug them in just like that. You know, so you know, it's a two-way street, and I really think like networking is looked at too much, as like this business needy position. You know, it's transactional. When instead, like I said, we kind of miss the human part, trying to make it too transactional. You know, just it's not always about like business. Sometimes you get asked like, hey, how's it going in your regular life? You know, what's going on there? Like, you know, a lot of times at the symposium, believe it or not, this year it felt a little different because I wasn't necessarily handshaking with people on the field at Mercedes-Benz because I have my own thing going as well. It's a little bit different experience for me this year, but I was able to feel it at the events that we were going to after the symposium. You know what I mean? You're shaking hands with those presidents of those black sports professional groups at like these bars and social hours they have outside of it, and I feel like that is true networking. Not, hey, how you doing? I'm a senior at so and so university. What can you do for me? You know, it's like, hey, I like that drink you got. Oh, cool. What drink did you get? And now we're talking. Where are you from? And now the conversation stems. And oh, you want to do that? Let me help you with this. I know a person. Let me hit your LinkedIn. And now here we go. You know what I mean? That is the beauty. And I think once you graduate from that transactional point there, it comes really, really easy, like breathing. So yeah.
Okay, so
pro.
Yeah, it definitely is. So we go. This is like one of the last questions because of time. So, what would you tell someone not to do when they're networking? If you could, like, if you were the teacher for like a career development session type thing, and you had something to tell people not to do. Most people know what to do and they end up doing it too much. That's why it looks transactional. Like we've been to a couple of like conferences. There was one Leadership Institute. You're in an elevator. You just want to go to your room. Hi, I'm from bro. I really like I'm answering you, but I'm like I'm not gonna remember you from there.
It's like, bro, like come on, man, give me a break.
Yeah, like you actually seen me before. You just didn't remember.
Yeah. I mean, there's been several times where I saw that happen too. Like, oh, brother, like you're weeding them out.
Yeah.
Like, and I think Rich Paul was actually giving that speech. I believe him and Maria Taylor actually. They had certain points in their headlining discussion at the symposium where they were talking about like, hey, you know, we see a lot of younger people come up to us and it's like, hey, you know, my name's so and like, you know, that was something I learned earlier on in life. You know, trial and error, like people kind of just brush you off. I was like, oh, you're a young guy, whatever. Like by the time you get to your question or what you want them to do for you, they're already like moving on to the next thing. You got to be quick. I think one thing I would tell people not to do is to lead with what you want to do. I would actually lead. One thing that I guess I'll give some free game away. Right.
Okay.
I'll give some free game. I want people not to lead with what you want to do, but lead with what you want from them. If you want to, and not like, hey, I want you to give me an internship. I mean, like, ask them a serious question. How did you get to A to Z? How did you make this pivot from here to there? You know, ask those questions because people are always loving to ask and give answers, you know, and talk about how they got to where they are. And then you can follow up by saying, hey, I do this, and this. I see you do this, and this. I was wondering if, you know, you could look at this. And that's where I kind of stem my networking from. Like, hey, I see you do play-by-play too. I see you do this too. I would love if you can like look at my reel for me and give me a couple pointers, and it goes from there. You know, and so I would definitely tell people when they're coming into networking or new into this field, you know, try to lead with the question. Don't lead with what like you do. Lead with what they do. You know, hey, this person is a master agent. Ask him about like how did he get into it early? How did he like know how to evaluate talent, or what does he evaluate talent with? And then you will spark their interest in why they're coming up to you, because truthfully they don't see that day to day. You know, it's always a grind for them. And so when someone stops and asks them about their journey, people are always eager to tell their journey. So, make sure that you don't lead with like that. And then also try not to be in this business, in sports business, it's kind of weird. Like you run across a lot of athletes, a lot of people that are big into sport. Try not to get too fanny into it. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be fanning out. Like I remember there was a story told by Clutch Sports agency member where she was saying that she met someone, a great young man, at this sporting event, and he really sparked her interest in trying to make him an intern, and she got his contact information and all of that. And then at the very end of their time with each other, he asked her to take a picture with one of the athletes they were representing. And she was like, oh, that was the ultimate turnoff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to ask me for a job, but then you want to fan out in front of me. It makes it unreliable if you come across bigger,
names.
Yeah, bigger names that are in the agency, So I would tell people, try not to fan out. Like, there's times where it's like, it's cool, like, hey, I'm a big fan of yours, like, big fan of your work, appreciate what you do, stuff like that. But there's also times where, like, you're trying to work in this business, you know what I mean? So it's like you kind of have to separate that if you want to be in this business in the long run. So try not to fan out, and then also, like I said earlier, try to lead with what they do, not what you want from them.
Okay. that's been a good one so far. Because I know people definitely make that mistake like every day. I hope you're listening. I really hope you're listening. But yeah, man, it's been a great episode so far. And we usually have a ritual at the end of our podcast where you recommend a creative. It could be local, it could be international. Just somebody, the first person that came up to your head. It could be a podcaster, it could be a painter, a musician, anybody. And then after that, you can tell us where we can find you.
Find one person. I'm trying to, like, 5 came into my head. I was going to say 4, but then another one popped in. I was like, 4 or 5. Actually, I'm going to go with the one. You want one that's here on campus, or do you want one that's local?
Your favorite book? Oh, you can do both.
I'm going to go do both. I'm going to say that's on campus right now. I would say, have you guys tried MJ?
MJ who?
MJ, let me see.
What's he do?
MJ was the former vice president for SGA.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm
going to actually give you 2. I'm going to say MJ or former SGA president and Jayla.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
If not them 2, I would say try Victoria from the track team. Have y'all met her yet?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay.
Yeah, so you're recommending them to the people.
Y'all 3 got some shoes to fill over here in this game. Try those 3. I think they have really great stories. Also great experiences here on campus. They've been involved in a lot, and I think it'll be really dope to hear their stories and what their time will be like here on campus. Locally, I would say Mo Carter. Have you heard of Mo Carter?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I gotta plug Mo Carter in. Mo Carter is a great guy, a great mentor of mine over at Fox 54.
Mm-hmm.
Does a great job in reporting, and he's kind of someone I've been able to look at that does it right, if you will. He's able to tell stories right, and he's been someone I looked at that puts the work in and day out, and shows the other side of sports broadcasting that we don't see. The local news guys, where they put the grind in every day. They're not just covering NBA, NFL, NHL all day, MLB. Yeah. They're actually out here in the fields covering high school sports, the guys before the guys, So, definitely, Mo Carter, I'm calling on you, man. I'm going to send you the link. on YouTube.
Where can we find Mo Carter at?
You can find Mo Carter through his email. He's great on Twitter.
Okay.
So you could definitely hit him on Twitter.
What's his Twitter?
I think it's like at Mo Carter WZDX. Mo Carter is a great one though. Mo has if you think my voice can be able to change, Mo has a distinct voice where if you close your eyes, pitch black, it's him. Mo Carter, Fox 54. He's great. Mo is awesome. So definitely Mo Carter, I'm calling on you to join this podcast, man. I think you got a great story. being in the HBCU himself, graduated from Southern University, and then also played football for Southern.
Okay.
So he's a great guy, and now seeing where he is in his career now is like really remarkable, and it's something that I look at as motivation and inspiration too.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what can we find you?
Oh, where we can find me is at Chauncey D. Sanders at Instagram. I kind of been trying to figure out, like, there's a fight right now for Chauncey Sanders on Instagram. There's a guy that's named, and it's weird because I've never met anyone that spells my name correctly in life, ever. Like, I've had people that are like, hey, we want you to interview with us, but they're like, hi, Chauncey, C-E-Y, instead of C-Y. And so I'm like, oh. But I never get anyone that spells my name correctly the first time. So seeing someone that did, and now his page is deactivated, and I'm like, Instagram, hey, like, give me the page, like, what's up? So we're kind of going through that, but Chauncey D. Sanders on Instagram. I think I might just leave it as that because, you know, the
Don't worry, we'll drop the link. We'll drop the link in the description.
Okay. And then Chauncey Sanders on Twitter.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, man. It's been a good episode so far.
No,
Thank you for
enjoyed
taking your time to reach out to us. And for me, you can find me on Instagram at TheCampC, and
You can find me at Olashibomi Olapo.
don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your mom and dad, and all that good stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.